Hi guys, welcome back to another week, another episode of Unlicensed. My name is Jill. I'm the host of Unlicensed, and if this is your first time tuning in, this is the podcast where real women write in anonymously about anything they want, dating, relationships, career, manifestation. We literally cover everything, and you guys know I like to have my different female guests joining us each week, relationship coaches, therapists, friends, family, and social media influencers to help offer you advice, because I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing in my life either. I am so excited for today's episode, guys. Two of my best friends from Atlanta that I met you almost over 2 years ago, and then you about a year ago, are both joining us today. Welcome, Zinka and Maheen. I'm so excited to have you guys here.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here.
How are you guys feeling? First podcast appearance. What's the emotions? Maheen, how are you feeling today?
I feel good. I'm happy to be here. I'm honored that you invited us.
Yes. Zinka, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. It'll be interesting. I think it's going to be fun for us to chat like we always do.
Yeah.
But, on camera this time.
I know. I was like, don't be nervous. It's literally going to be like how we talk at dinner. So it's going to be a great time. But guys, I know we usually get to know our guests a little bit more before we hop into the episode. But today we're talking about friendships, meeting new friends in new cities. So I figured we'd get into the actual advice for today, and then we'll hop into some questions and learn more about our friendship, the empowerment and the importance of having female friendships, what we thought of each other when we first met each other for the first time, all the good stuff. I'm excited to see what you guys think. So this person wrote in and they said, I just moved to New York and I don't know anyone here. I feel so lonely, way more than I have ever before. I know finding friends is important, but it's way harder than I expected. I'm not really clicking with my coworkers and I don't know how to meet people outside of work. I really need some girlfriends to help me figure out the city. Any tips on how to make friends? So I figured like two of my favorite people in the entire world needed to be on this episode today. I didn't want like a random social media influencer or something. I wanted people that I actually have like a firsthand experience of making friends when we all moved to Atlanta. So Maheen, first starting with you, what brought you to Atlanta? I obviously know, but for the people, what brought you to Atlanta? How long have you been here? How has Atlanta just been for you in general? Let's get into that.
I actually really resonated with this prompt because I felt the same way when I first moved here. So I came here because my family had moved here from South Carolina while I was in school. So I followed them here. I only knew them. I didn't have any friends here. And they were my only really social life for the first at least year I was here. Yeah. And so I was also super lonely as far as like girlfriends because I really didn't have any. And like my coworkers are cool, but it's hard to build that relationship with them right off the bat. Like it takes time.
Yes.
I didn't really become like outside of work friends with any of them until at least like a year or two in.
Yeah. I love it. It's hard with coworkers too. And I know you have a good relationship with your coworkers, but a lot of the time with coworkers, you're so right. Sometimes you just don't vibe. In your case, it's like, okay, I needed to like build up a relationship first before we're like going out and doing things together and having a personal relationship. Because sometimes it's like, I don't want you to know about my business. And then I'm like seeing you on Monday again. So I totally understand that. Zinka, what brought you to Atlanta? Were you like feeling similar? I know you don't have family here, so that was probably a little bit different. And I'm excited to hear more about like that family aspect because it is easy to get stuck in that and then sometimes not get out of your comfort zone for meeting friends too. But for you, what brought you to Atlanta and like initial feelings when you first moved here too?
Yeah, so I came here, I grew up in Florida and then I came here after graduating PT school like a little over 2 years ago now for work mostly. And luckily, I had a really great friend from PT school that moved up here with me. Shout out Michaela.
We love her.
We love Michaela. But she was literally like the only person I knew up here.
Yeah.
And so like obviously when we first moved here, we did a lot of stuff together and everything. But it was really hard for like the first probably like 6 months or so to like find a group of people and like find your own friends and stuff. And, like she had her friends and I was like still trying to find my friend group and everything. And like we would do stuff together when we could, but you need to have like your own lives as well.
Yeah.
And my coworkers, they are great, but I work with two guys who were in like, they're both married now. So like it was not like we were just like hanging out all the time after work and stuff.
Yeah.
Love them, but just different vibes.
100%.
Yeah. So I loved Atlanta when I first moved here. There was so much to do and everything, but it was like kind of challenging to find the groove of like finding your friends and then finding people to do stuff with on the weekends and stuff like that.
getting into the rhythm of it all. How are you guys feeling just like moving to a new city in general? Because it's so scary sometimes, especially if you don't know anybody. You obviously had your family here, but again, you obviously wanted to meet people outside of that. So just moving to a new city, were you guys excited? Were you like, I need to get the fuck out from where I am. I'm excited to go to these new places. Or were you super nervous or both? Were you like, I'm really excited for this, but I'm also really nervous. I don't know a lot of people here. What did that look like for you, Maheen, just moving to a new city in general? Because Atlanta is huge. It's a huge city. It's also very cliquey, something I've noticed. A lot of people from high school stay here. So they immediately have their friend groups and they're locked in. That's something I definitely experienced when I first got here. So just new city vibes in general. How was that for you?
I feel like Atlanta was a little bit different for me because I always grew up coming to visit because I've always had family here. And like when I was younger, my sisters used to live here. So I have been to Atlanta so many times, even before I lived here. So I kind of had an idea of what there was to do here, the different neighborhoods. But and I also didn't like Atlanta either before I moved here.
Okay.
I didn't start liking Atlanta until I moved to the city.
What were you not liking about it? What was like, you're like, I'm not feeling this city. What was the vibe?
It was just that like everyone that I knew that lived here was like out in the suburbs. So it was just different lifestyle than like what I was interested in. Yeah. And then the traffic's really bad here.
Worst thing ever, actually.
Yeah.
Awful.
So like my idea of Atlanta was that everything's super spread out. Like you're in the car forever. Like there's not that much fun stuff to do here. But I mean, it's a totally different vibe when I like moved into the city myself and actually put an effort in making friends. Yeah. And then it was just so much better. And then I was excited to be here and like explore.
Yes. Sometimes like getting like closer in makes such a difference, I feel.
Definitely.
So I totally feel that.
So
what about
too
you?
much to do sometimes.
Yeah, I know. We got too much area to cover. Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Zinka? Obviously, you were coming from Florida at this point, so you were making a little bit more of a move. What did that look like for you and just feelings of moving to Atlanta too?
Yeah, so like moving to Atlanta was definitely like probably one of the first things I've done as an adult, like outside of my comfort zone. Yeah. Like I went to college 2 hours from Orlando, like in Gainesville, so I was home a lot while I was there for 4 years, and then like I had moved back in with my parents during PT school. Yeah. So my friends were all in Orlando, my family's there. I remember the day that I moved to come up here, I was crying the first 3 hours of the drive. Yeah. Like my parents were both crying. Like this was going to be like the furthest I've ever been away from home. Mind you, it's like not that far, but still, like everything was just, it was very like, I had no idea what to expect. I'm like, I could honestly hate it here because I had been to Atlanta before to visit, but I never saw myself living here. Yeah. Honestly, I was like, I'm going to hate it there. Yeah. But I'm just going to be there for 3 months and I'm going to move on. Here I am 2 years later.
Years later. Here. Thank God.
But it was definitely like very much like I was ready to leave Florida and just kind of get a change of scenery, but I definitely did not expect to stay here long at all. Yeah.
It's always a really good feeling though when you just don't expect anything. You kind of go into a new city having low expectations and then it can kind of blow your mind afterwards of meeting great people and enjoying the city more. For you, because we always gave you shit that you would be home like every single weekend. How important do you feel like it is though to go back and visit family and still have your roots in where you grew up? And then for you, how has it just been having your family in general close by? I think you guys, obviously your siblings live fairly close and then you do a really good job of going home. I need to do way better. I'm like Thanksgiving, Christmas, one time in the summer. I wish I could go home more financially, but for you, just the importance of trying to still make that effort with family even if they don't live in your city. And then for you, just the importance of like having family close by and what that's meant for you. Let's start with you, Maheen, with that.
It's been so nice, honestly, because I haven't lived in the same city as my family since I like was in high school. So for me, it was just like awesome being able to just be driving distance from my mom, from my sisters, and like being able to visit them whenever I want. So that's been a big change and very different. I love it. Like, but then I did get stuck in that for a long time when I first moved here. Because I also, when I first moved, I moved in at my mom's house and like I was there. And that's also part of why I didn't like it here. So I was like out in the suburbs with nothing to do out there and like a 40-minute drive to the city and a 40-minute drive to work. And
I love it. Zinka, what about you? The importance of just like traveling home as often as you can, because like our parents are getting older, our siblings are getting older, and you made such a good point. I have not lived with my family since senior year of high school, which is so crazy to think about. Almost 10 years ago, not to fucking age myself, but almost 10 years
You're
ago.
So right.
Time flies. For me, it's like part of it is I love my parents so much, but I'm an only child, so they do be putting on that only child guilt, like, oh, when are you gonna come see us, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys can come up here too, you know.
Right.
But yeah, so part of it is that, just like knowing I kind of feel, not that I feel obligated, and that's the only reason I go, but a little bit of it is like, I do need to go see them, especially they are getting older, you know, they still work and stuff, so it's not like their schedules are super flexible, so we have to figure out like who can come, who can go, like that sort of thing. Yeah. But and then also I do have a lot of like really close friends still in Orlando or like near there, so it's just like a good meeting point to kind of see those people and everything. And that's kind of how I find myself feeling grounded and like continuing some of the friendships I have. It has been a little bit hard because at times, especially early on, I felt like I was being pulled between like two lives. Like I'm like, oh, I have my like Florida life, and when I go home I'm like, man, I want to move back here, and then when I come here I'm like, no, I can't leave. So it's like, I don't know, it's challenging a little bit at times to deal with that, but it definitely has helped keep my friendship strong, like luckily being able to go home as often as I do, just because it's so close. Yeah,
that is such a thing I feel too. Whenever I go home back to Baltimore and I see my high school friends too, I'm like, do I need to move back here? And then I come back to Atlanta, I'm like, I think I'm set. I think I'm set. It's real. I'm still like in the moment type of present kind of person. So thanks for sharing that, guys, and family. Let's move more into like friendship. So obviously, if you guys don't know, we all met on, and I want to get sponsored for this, Bumble Friends. Yeah, we did. Maheen and I met on Bumble Friends like almost 2 years ago, and then Zinka and I met almost about a year ago. And with our situation, we went with a big group of people, Zinka and I, and there was like 10 girls. I feel like I vibe with 2 of them. I'm like, okay, I like these 2. It was you and our friend Alana, so I still keep in touch with you. There's like a few other girls I'll still kind of talk to, and they're really cool. But there were some people in the group I just didn't really vibe with as much, which happens when you have a big, so many personalities and things. I immediately like loved both of you guys, meeting you out the bat. I'm so excited to hear like, one, were you always someone that knew you were going to be on Bumble Friends and almost like a dating app for friends? Or were you like, okay, I'm going to do this one time, see how it is, and keep it moving? Maheen, let's start with you. Was Bumble Friends something that you're like, okay, I don't have friends, I'm in the suburbs with my family, I just need to make it happen? Or have you been using this app for years? What did that look like for you?
No, this was my first time on Bumble Friends, and I never really thought about it until I was like, I hit like this wall where I was like, I need girlfriends, and so I'm just gonna try this out. And so I got on it and I was swiping for friends, and literally
swiping for friends. Actually,
so crazy.
It's like a dating app. It's weird.
It is, and it's so weird, like chatting with girls like you're on a dating app. Like, hey, how's it going?
Really
so
like
what do you do?
Yeah.
It was really weird and like hard to get used to at first, but I remember seeing your profile and you said something about Love Island, and so I messaged you about Love Island, and I was like, I just love her energy. You're literally the only person that I initiated actually meeting, and you're the only person that I met off Bumble Friends, and so yeah,
she was set after that.
I was set.
Like, I don't
honestly, I was like, I love her, so I'm happy with her. And then you introduced me to so many people. You introduced me to Zinka.
Yes. And I've met so many people through you too, which has been amazing. Like Dominique, Brie, our friends, who are like 2 of my really good friends now too, which is so crazy. But I agree, you were my first Bumble date, which is so funny to think about. It really is like a dating app, and you feel weird because you're like judging these women, which is not like the best, but it really is like, do I feel like I'm gonna vibe with this person? Like, are they looking to just go out and be crazy, or like, are they looking just for wholesome? I like a little bit of both. Like, I want to do fun things, but I also like want to have like a little Saturday night out and about. But I agree. I saw your profile and I'm like, just something about this girl. I like her vibe, and we like immediately hit it off. What about you? Were you on the apps for the apps? Were you on Bumble for a bit? Was that your first interaction using Bumble Friends when the group of 10 of us went out, Zinka? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, so I had like heard about Bumble BFF or whatever it's called, and like I was like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, come on. And then I actually went to dinner with one of my friends from college, and he was like, oh, my ex-girlfriend, you know, when she first moved here, she did that, and she met a lot of really cool people. Like, maybe you should try it. And I was like, okay, we'll see. And I'd already been on Bumble for the dating side of things. That's a whole other story. We're not going to talk about that.
We'll need another hour.
We're not going to talk about that. But so I was like, I'll try it. And then I ended up like, it's so funny to say, like, I matched with this girl, but like matching with this girl who ended up like kind of putting the whole thing together where we met. But that was honestly, I think I met her, and then like obviously you and everyone in the group and then like one other person, and I was kind of like, okay, like that was it. I didn't really spend a lot of time on there.
Yeah.
There were a couple times since then that I would like go on and like see, okay, there are other people out there too, but honestly, after I like met our friend group, I'm like, I'm good. I don't feel like I really need like
we're set. Yeah. We got really lucky, I think. We got so lucky when you talk about this all the time because one, you guys are two of my favorite people, but you hear stories of people using the apps or just meeting friends in new cities, and it doesn't go that way. Like, people are crazy. Genuinely, people are crazy. So I always say we lucked out. How do you guys feel about introducing friends and like mixing your groups together? Because that's something I was really nervous about. Even introducing you guys, I was like, they're both amazing people. I know you're gonna vibe, but sometimes you have your high school friends or college friends, you're like, they're not gonna vibe with my adult friends, my new city friends. And I knew you guys would vibe, but how has that been for you guys? Because obviously you've introduced me to multiple new people. I've met so many of your coworkers and new friends too. Do you guys get nervous when you're mixing groups and trying to bring this person to this person, or does that just always feel very natural for you when you're doing it? Maheen, we can start with you for that.
I feel like there's always a little bit of anxiety that comes with that because you, of course, want your friends to get along. And it's so nice being able to mix your friend groups. Yeah. And, like, I love when I see, like, two of my friends from different friend circles get along and love each other.
Yes.
That makes me feel so good. But I feel like, personally, I tend to hang out with like-minded people and I don't have very different friend groups. Like, I know some people that have friend groups that are polar opposites of each other. Yeah. I just don't feel like I have that. So I don't think I have a big issue with intermingling friend groups. Yeah. But I also have friends that introduce me to some of their friends and I'm like, you're really nice, but like, will I go to dinner with you? Probably not.
Not hanging out with y'all again. Not hanging out with y'all. Oh, we know. What about you, Zinka?
I'm a little bit of like the opposite. So I have always had separate, like my friend groups have always been very separate. Like even back in high school, like I had my friends that I had been friends with since like elementary school, middle school, all that. And then I had like my volleyball friends and like those friend groups just for whatever reason never really like combined. Like like if there was an occasion like my birthday or something, like everyone would get together and everyone would get along fine, but it was never like we could all hang out together. Yeah. Like if I'm doing something with them, they're not going to be part of it necessarily. But that's something I really appreciate about you, Jill, because like I've met most of my other friends here through you. So it's been kind of nice seeing how you like do that so effortlessly. But there's like certain friends I'm like, okay, I know these people will vibe with this friend from back home. So like I don't mind bringing them and like, you know, introducing them. There's other people I'm like, I might just have to keep that separate. Just like knowing the different personalities and stuff. And I'm personally someone that can like mesh with so many different personality types. So I think that's kind of where that comes in. Where it's like, I'm not going to introduce all of my friends to my friends here, but there are a select few that I'd be like, oh yeah, you guys will definitely like fuck with each other.
100%. Sure. Yeah. And that's something I love about you guys. You are two of my friends that I know I could introduce to anybody. And like, you're going to be fine because you are so easygoing. You're kind people. Like you said, like-minded values and things. So what I look for in friendships and hopefully how I'm appearing in friendships too. I'm excited to hear what you guys thought of each other when you first met each other for the first time too. Because you guys you guys have been friends for almost 2 years now too, right? Like a year and a half at this point. When is I don't even remember the first, we hang out so much. I literally can't even remember like the first time you guys met. Did we just go to dinner? Did you come to my house? Like, when did you guys meet? And do you remember just like general first impressions of each other, even if you can't remember the specific meeting point?
Do you remember?
This is the hardest question you're asking. I have no clue. Maybe was it like trivia or something like that?
It
had to be trivia, right?
Yeah, because I remember meeting you and Alana at the same time.
Yeah, it was trivia for sure. And I want to say like, I mean, obviously I had nothing bad to think about you. Like we're so close now, but we've definitely gotten close over like the last like 6 months. But I feel like it had to be trivia because that's where I was meeting everybody. Like we all kind of just congregate every week. But I don't know. I honestly like don't really remember as bad as that is.
Either. It just seems like all of a sudden like we all just were hanging out and I'm like, when did this happen? But like I actually don't remember your guys' first interaction. It probably we do weekly trivia.
Cool,
we're here, so it went well.
Yes.
But I have no clue either.
Yeah, we'll talk about trivia and like the importance of meeting people through like hobbies and weekly things, but let's also get into like how challenging it is to actually just make friends in your adulthood, this is something I love talking about all the time because we're in school our entire lives, right? From the time you're like 4, and if you have the opportunity to go to college, and to the time you're 22. So it's easy to make friends in the sense because of convenience, right? I'm in classes with these people. I have my roommate my freshman year of college. I'm meeting people through them. Once you fucking graduate, though, you're like, how the hell am I supposed to meet people? I go to work. If I don't like my coworkers, I definitely don't want to see them outside of work. Right. I love my coworkers. I'm like, I don't necessarily need to see you guys every single day, though. Like, I'm already spending so much of my week with you. Why do you feel like it's hard for women specifically to meet people and make friends in their adulthood? And how has that been for you guys? Just looking back on the last few years since graduating to making friends, is it something you felt like was more challenging than you originally thought it was going to be? Zinka, let's start with you for that.
Honestly, yes. And I think part of this is just like, because I know you guys don't think so, but I always like consider myself like very, not like super awkward to begin with, but like I never did it. I'm like, you're not awkward. I know, but I just feel like it takes me a while to warm up to people, right? And like be myself around them. And so like that's kind of what makes it hard at times, because I'm not someone that can like talk to a brick wall at all. Like I admire anyone that has that trait, but I eventually will run out of things to talk about. And so yeah, like especially me coming here and like working with mostly guys and stuff like that, I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna find friends around here. Right. But yeah, it is. And I think also part of the reason it's so challenging as women specifically is because I don't know about you guys, but for me, I always think that other women are judging me, even though like I think we just have a tendency to kind of lean towards that as like the first initial impression. Yeah. Even though I would never like, if someone came up to me and like started trying to talk to me, I would never be like, you're weird. Like I would never be like a mean girl. You know what I mean? But like you always think that someone else is gonna do that to you. Yeah. Even though realistically they're probably not. Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's part of the reason why it was challenging for me at first. Yeah. But I kind of learned to just be myself, and if people don't vibe with it, then that's not my person in terms of like a friendship or a relationship, whatever it is.
100%. I the judgment part, I get people are so afraid to put themselves out there because you're afraid of like what people might think of you. But you're so right. If I'm showing up authentically and this person doesn't like me, like we're probably not supposed to be in each other's lives then. Yeah. What about you, Maheen? Why do you feel like it might be hard for women specifically to make friends, and then how has that looked like in your life too?
I think like you make a good point, Zinka. Like I think women, maybe even men too, I don't know what they're thinking. But
do we ever know what they're thinking?
I know. Exactly. But people in general tend to judge people right off the bat, like off of your first interaction. Subconsciously, like we all do it. I do it. I'm sure you guys do it too. Everyone does it. And like you and I had that feeling when we first met each other of, I love this girl. But like we've also had feelings of maybe we're not going to be that close. And I think I learned that lesson when I first started nursing school, because I met this one girl. I met 2 girls actually on orientation day. And I was like, oh, one of them's really cool. Like I can definitely see myself being friends with her. The other one's nice, but like I don't really think we're gonna be that close.
Not that vibe.
Turns out she became my best friend through the whole program.
The switch. Yes. Then she was the bestie.
Yes. I mean, the 3 of us became really good friends. Yeah. We were all best friends. We even had one more jump in, and like we were a group of 4. But the girl that I thought I was not gonna be close to ended up being my best friend through the whole program. So that kind of rewired my brain a little bit to where I'm like, okay, sometimes like it doesn't happen initially, and then also I'm also not. I can't talk to a wall either. Like,
I mean, you guys can.
No,
man,
girl.
I just like, I'm like seeing you at my house when we're having. I'm like, they are talking to. I know this person's kind of boring that they're talking to. They are talking.
No, but you missed the part where Maheen and I are texting each other like, when are you getting here? Our social anxiety. We're like,
period.
We need a familiar face.
Yeah, no, seriously, we're on the side texting each other. You don't know that.
When are you getting the chills? Cause
I'm probably like 5 shots deep at that point, so probably not aware.
Yeah, we know not to contact
I love the point of like judging people off the bat. You kind of mentioned like feeling judged, but also it's easy for me to do that and easy for women to do that because like society kind of like puts us against each other since we're born in the first place too. Can you name a time that you've judged someone off the bat? I've definitely done that. My best friend in the entire world, I was like, I am not gonna like this girl. She's getting on my nerves. Literally had a conversation with her. I'm like, okay, I love her. Like sometimes you need to give people a chance and then kind of see their actions afterwards and see if they're showing up again as a good friend. But it's very easy to do that and think that this person may not be someone in your life, and then a lot of the time they might be. Can you think of a time that you've judged someone off the bat and then they turn out to be one of your really close friends? Does that ever happen to you? Or are you typically, I got good advice from the beginning, like following through with that as well? Zinka.
I don't think I've ever, like, not that I can think of, like, misjudged someone, but I feel like there was a time when, like, I met someone here and I was like, okay, like, she's kind of a lot, but, like, you know, maybe we'll hang out one more time or whatever. And then we did end up, like, actually becoming pretty close friends.
Yeah.
However, that friendship didn't necessarily, like, translate to being a long-lasting one, but it was just different from what I expected, because, like, the first time I met her, I just felt very, like, oh my god, what is happening? Like, we're so different. And then we ended up, like, vibing a little bit, but then ultimately just, like, life happens. You know, not every friendship is meant to be, like, a deep, like, long-lasting one. But I can't really think of another time where, like, I was so wrong about a person. I'm sure there is, but I just, on the spot, I can't think of it.
No, I totally understand that. And I think it is really good to ask the hard questions of, this is someone that you could, like, see you in your life for a long time. How does that look like in terms for you guys of outgrowing friendships? If this is some friend that you've known since your childhood, high school, I mean, I have so many friends in my life that I love, but growing and learning more about myself, especially in more, like, spaces with people of color and things as well, there's definitely been a lot of friendships that I feel like I've outgrown, and I think women particularly feel a lot of shame and guilt towards that. Have you guys ever outgrown a friendship, and what advice would you offer to someone in terms of not feeling guilty for outgrowing that person? Because typically when someone's growing, if you feel like you're outgrowing your friend, probably means that you're the one that's growing and they're the one that's staying stagnant in whatever part of their life that looks like. If you're growing together, you're probably gonna, like, grow out or, like, genuinely grow together and build your friendship stronger as well. So what has that look like in terms of you guys of outgrowing friendships, and how do you combat that shame that you might feel for being like, I don't think this is someone that's going to be in my life, or someone that's not going to be as close as we once were? Maheen, let's start with you for that.
I think it's important to remember that it's okay that you are outgrowing that friendship, because just like you said, a lot of times we're growing and then that person might just be staying where they are. Yeah. And it's okay to surround yourself with like-minded people and, like, not want to, you know, continue on those friendships. Yeah. That's understandable.
Yeah, 100%. Zinka, what do you feel about that?
I feel like it's definitely challenging, especially when it's someone that you have known for a long time, but you kind of have to remember, like, just because this person has been in your life for a long time doesn't mean, like, you're not going to potentially grow apart from each other. Yeah. So, like, the hope is that you're both growing at the same pace and growing together, like you were saying, but like, if y'all are either growing separate ways, or, like, one person's growing, the other person's not really evolving, again, like Maheen said, like, it's okay, that happens. It doesn't mean you have to necessarily all of a sudden, like, cut this person off, or, like, be spiteful towards them or whatever. Like, because sometimes, most of the time, it's not necessarily a negative energy thing. Like, it's just you guys just aren't on the same page with certain things anymore. And that's okay. You can still wish them the best and, like, still be in their life from a distance, but you just kind of have to come to terms with the fact that, like, okay, maybe we're not going to be as close anymore. Yeah. I can now prioritize friendships where I do feel like our values align better.
100%.
I'm going to say that it doesn't make you a bad person. Yeah. And it doesn't make them a bad person either.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes you just don't, in that situation, sometimes you're growing and you just don't click with that person anymore. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of goes back to what we're saying. Sometimes you know from the beginning, if, again, you're just not going to click with that person from the beginning. Can you guys name a time a friendship fail, maybe from the very beginning, or getting to know someone, even like in Atlanta, new city, that you're just like, I don't think I'm going to vibe with this person? I had this situation where I met this girl also off of Bumble Friends, and this is someone that I don't think you guys have met, because, again, she was really cool. She was super sweet. I felt like very surface level, and you know me. Our first fucking Bumble date, I'm like, we were like getting into it. Tell me about your family. Maybe a little too much. Maybe a little too much. I'm glad I didn't scare you off with that. But this girl was very surface, and something that I didn't enjoy about that friendship is her other friends were very rude. Like, would not say hello, did not include me in conversations, would literally come up to the two of us, speak directly to her, and, like, ignore me. So I'm like, this is not a friend group or a person that I necessarily want to hang out, because obviously this is an extension of maybe how you see yourself, and I don't want to hang around people that make me feel excluded and make me feel lonely, even though there's like 15 of you. Can you guys name a time, Zinka, we can start with you, just like from the beginning, friendship fail, either in Atlanta or just in life in general? What does that look like for you too?
Well, you're actually, you are familiar with this story, but you know, it's from our first like Bumble date with all those 10 girls. And we had all been like out at one bar, like had a couple drinks. We were all like getting to know each other, whatever. I was honestly stressed that night because I was running late trying to find parking.
I remember you were late. Yeah.
And I walked up, and that's how I knew, like, you and Alana I was vibing with, because like, you guys were so welcoming. Like, hey, like, we're here, like, come on, have a seat, whatever. But there was a group of girls there. I think we were at some, like, brewery or something. I don't know. We went to another spot, and we were like having a good time, laughing, whatever. And I said jokingly, I was like, oh, we should start taking shots. Yeah. And then these girls were like, oh no, we're not doing that, and they just like left.
Weirdly judged, and they literally left.
They left.
Yeah,
they actually left. They were like, okay, we're gonna go to this other bar. Weren't like, you guys should come. We were like, oh, but we all kind of wanted them to go. At that point, we're like, okay, bye, girls. Go.
And I was like, okay, if that was so like offensive to you, like, sorry, but you're just not like, not that I'm one to be like knocking back shots every weekend. Anyway, I was obviously joking, but it was just funny because like, they were so like appalled, and I was like, all right, you're not, this is not gonna work out. And yeah, we never saw those girls again.
We never saw them again. Still follow them on Instagram. Maheen, what about you? How does that look like for you in terms of friendship fails, maybe from the beginning?
I'll tell you a story that's a little bit opposite, because mine is with someone that's so sweet, but we just didn't vibe. Like, I met her through another one of my friends that lives here in Atlanta, and she met her off of Bumble Friends. Yeah. And so she invited me to dinner with her, and she was really nice, like so sweet and genuine and kind. And so we hung out a few times, but I just like, I couldn't get it. Like, it just wasn't coming.
Like that chemistry, that connection
wasn't coming. It's like you go on a date with a really nice guy, and like he's so
really
nice, but it's just a romantic connection not there. Yeah, it was like that. Yeah. And so we hung out multiple times over like the course of maybe like 6 months to a year. And
oh my God. Like dating. No, like,
we tried,
you were giving her a chance.
Because, you guys, like I said, I was lonely.
She said, I need to get out of my parents' house.
I was really hoping that the chemistry would grow, but it didn't. And then, I mean, we grew apart. Thankfully, like, she got into a relationship at the time, so she was a little busy with her boyfriend. Good. And so it didn't, like, it happened naturally, but I have not spoken to her in a long time.
That's so fair. That chemistry component is honestly so important in friendships. Compatibility, all of it too, because sometimes, like you mentioned, it's like you're going on a date with a guy, you're like, so sweet, so nice. We didn't laugh once. I don't really know anything about this person. I'm kind of bored, honestly. What types of personalities do you guys feel like you're attracted to when looking for friends? Do you like outgoing, extroverts, introverts? Does it not matter? Just do you look for just personality doesn't even matter. I just like that this person has very similar values to me. What do you look for in friendships, and how do you like showing up in those friendships as well? Zinka, we can start with you for that question.
I think for me, like, it's honestly kind of similar to like what I look for when I'm looking for someone like in the dating world, as far as like someone that shows interest in you also and isn't just talking about themselves the whole time or like trying to be the center of attention. Like, I don't vibe well with people like that. You don't have to be a wallflower. You can be extroverted. Like, I love someone who can like chat with anyone and like get along with anyone, but also like comes off in a genuine way about it. Like, asks questions, is a good listener too, like isn't constantly interrupting you.
That's
and
big.
I know sometimes I get excited and I like want to contribute so bad. Sometimes I'd be cutting people off and I'm like, I gotta be better about that. But like, there are times where you're talking and you can't even get a word in because someone's just like so busy trying to yap about themselves. That's kind of like a turn off for me when it comes to friendships.
100%.
And people just that show like they care about you, or like they're genuinely at least like interested in you. Yeah.
What about you, Maheen? I love all the things that you just said. I'm like check, nodding to everything.
No, seriously, check. Everything that you said. Someone that's genuine and also like obviously shares the same like morals and values, and someone that I just get along with, vibe with. We can just like sit and talk.
100%. I totally agree with both of you. I feel like we have so many different friends that are so different, but similar values. I always look at it the same as dating. Can we go from like laughing our asses off about something so totally dumb, talking a little shit, because I love to talk shit. Like, I want you to be a kind person, but like, can you also talk shit? But can you get deep and be open in that way and be authentic just from the beginning. I think we are very intuitive people that we can kind of see if someone's like bullshitting from the very beginning in friendships as well. How important do you guys feel like it is to show up authentically from the beginning, even when meeting friends? Because in dating, you know, you're really trying to put on your best foot forward. Oh, I do all these things. I'm doing community service. Can't remember the last time I did community service. But I'd be saying it on some dates for sure.
Well, I volunteer.
I volunteer, guys, whatever. Need to be better about that. So for Maheen, for you, how important do you feel like it is to show up authentically from the beginning, even with a friend, even with meeting a new person, meeting a new friend as well?
No, my tolerance for BS is so low.
Mm-hmm.
So
we
yeah,
you our girl be standing on business.
Yeah.
My tolerance for BS is so low, even when it comes to my friendships. So like, I'm always gonna be like authentically myself because I want you to be authentically yourself, and like I want you to see who I am. And if I'm not someone that you vibe with, that's fine. And so then you know. And so I really want vice versa from the other person too.
100%. Zinka, how do you feel about that?
I think like at a time back when I was like in high school, going into college, like in my early 20s, I would have tolerated a little bit more BS and like I guess gone for more like surface level connections. Yeah. At this point in my life, I just feel like we're too grown and we're too like life is too short to be trying to like be something that we're not, you know. I don't want to have to feel like I'm putting on an act, especially around my friends. Like my friends, for me, especially like growing up as an only child, my friends have always been like my support system, you know. Like my parents are great, but like I didn't have siblings growing up, so like I always relied on my friends. So if I feel like people aren't genuine or like they're not showing up for me in the ways I'm showing up for them, like I don't need you in my life. I'm sorry. Like I'm
good point.
too grown for that at this point.
100%. The one-sided friendship is something that I think is really easy to see as an adult, especially when you're doing these like surface level dating apps and, you know, Bumble friends and everything too. People are so focused on themselves, they sometimes forget to show up as that way to their friend as well. So I think everything you guys said was so important of that, and being authentic and showing up with the girlies. And how important do you guys feel like it is to have female friendships in your life? I have always been someone that honestly hasn't had a lot of guy friends in my life. Like most of my guy friends, even in college, was like, because my friend was dating them, I became friends with them. So I've always surrounded myself with like really just badass women, honestly, ever since I was little, and showing up in the way. And I will say for me, it's always been easy to make friends, but I don't know how authentic I was showing up in a lot of those spaces. Very much a people pleaser. Going back to like the one-sided thing, I'm giving so much to this person, but they're not giving anything back to me. So that's definitely something that I try to ask myself, like, am I getting just as much back from this person? But how important to you, and we can start with you, Maheen, the importance of female friendships. I have so many girls in my life that I feel like don't have really strong female friendships, even if that's with one person. At the end of the day, my mom always says, she's like, you will be able to count your real friends on one hand by the time that you're like in your 20s. And I always just like, no, I love all my friends. Girl, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Genuinely, my real good friends I can really count on like one hand and like two hands. I have really good friends in Atlanta, so that added on to the other hand as well. But Maheen, starting with you, just the importance of female friendships. What does that look like for you in your life, and what advice would you give to women listening in, like, y'all need to do this. This is important.
My female friendships are my most fulfilling friendships. I think like
she aimed with that. Okay, she aimed with that one.
Such a moment.
No, they are my most fulfilling. Like more fulfilling than like any like romantic relationship that I've ever been in. My girls have shown up for me in ways that a man has never have shown up for me when I've really needed someone. So they're so important to me. It's so important to me because having female friends, like these are the people that are going to be in your life forever. Boyfriends come and go. You know, even husbands come and go.
At this time, no, you have to go there, girl.
We were thinking it.
Husbands come and go too. But your female friendships are forever. So having these like fulfilling friendships is like one of the most important things for me to be able to like continue on in my life.
Damn, that made me super emotional. I can't even look at you. She's moving soon, y'all, so I'm not okay. What are you saying?
I don't know if I can top that. No, I would agree. Like, honestly, a genuine female connection, like a friendship, something where people show up for each other, it just, for me, like, is where I feel safest, you know? Like, with a relationship or even, like, a female-male friendship, there's always going to be, like, something that can come and disrupt that, right? Like whether one of you gets into a relationship or like feelings get involved and then all of a sudden like you're on bad terms because it didn't work out or whatever. But like a female friendship, you don't always necessarily have to worry about that. So you feel your genuine like true self. Like you guys know those videos on TikTok where it's like girlhood is this and it's like just like the most random mundane things but also like so deep, so spiritual, like on a like deeper connection. Girlhood really does like span all of that, and I think that's like the beauty of female friendships is like you could, like you were saying, like you can go from like talking shit, laughing your ass off with like the dumbest thing ever to like all of a sudden you're crying in each other's arms because you're like appreciating each other so much, and like one of you's going through it and the other person is like trying to, you know, support you and everything. And I think there is just so much beauty in that, and so those friendships have always been very, very special to me.
Literally, us at dinner last night, one margarita, and I fucking love you. Like, genuinely, and that'll be us tonight. Yeah. That'll be us tonight, too.
Especially after this moment.
I'm so emotional. Like, guys. I didn't think I would be, like, getting emotional, so thanks for that, both of you guys, too. Let's also talk about the importance. Obviously, we're talking so much about the importance of, like, having female friendships. We'll talk a little more about how to meet new people in your city outside of Bumble Friends. We would like that sponsorship. We do. We want a little ad for it. But also the importance, especially when moving to a new city, of feeling okay with that really uncomfortable feeling of loneliness. I know you said when you first got here, obviously, you were living, you know, with your mom. So you had that, but obviously you want friendships too. I'm sure it was really easy to feel lonely in those spaces, and you obviously too, like moving right, kind of like starting right with work. I'm sure you didn't maybe even have a lot of time to go out and meet a bunch of people because you're just like, okay, I just did this huge move, I'm working, I'm exhausted. So let's talk about the feeling of loneliness, because something I really resonated with this prompt is the person mentioned how lonely they feel right now, which is very uncomfortable. No one really wants to ever feel lonely, especially in a new city. It can be so scary. What did that loneliness look like for you guys, Zinka? We can start with you when you first got here, and just any advice you would have for someone who's feeling super lonely when they're first moving to a new city. Yeah,
for me, you know, like I said, I have a great roommate that like moved up here with me, but even like early on, she kind of had her own little like friend group and things, and like obviously they would always try to include me and stuff, but there were times where like they were doing things that I didn't necessarily want to do or like that weren't really my vibe, so I found myself spending a lot of time like on my own and feeling a little bit lonely for sure, especially like being so far from like family and friends and stuff like that. As uncomfortable as it is, you do learn a lot about yourself in those moments, so like try to embrace it a little bit and like think about, like reflect and think about like, what do I want my life to look like? Like, what do I want out of this experience in this new city? Like, maybe this is a time to try a new hobby, try something new, like do something that you wouldn't normally do, or just like work on yourself, you know, as cheesy as it sounds. Like, it really is a good chance to do that. And just kind of be like reassured that the loneliness isn't going to last forever. And there's so many other people that are like going through the same thing as you. Yeah. So that's why you can't really feel awkward when you're like trying to meet new people and stuff like that, because everyone feels awkward. Like it is a weird thing trying to make friends in adulthood. Yeah. And you kind of just have to like push through that discomfort to get to a point where you like have a life that you enjoy. But it's, you know, it's common for everyone to feel that way, but it doesn't last forever.
I love that advice too, just knowing that you're not the only one going through it. There's 15 people I can think of right now that from the outside I felt like were living their best lives when they moved to the new city, and then hopping on the phone with them, they're like, dude, I am so lonely. I'm hanging out with these people and I don't even really feel like these are my actual people. It's very easy to feel even more lonely when you're hanging out with people that you're not really vibing with, and you can't really get that out of that surface level, you know, room with. What about you, Maheen? What did that look like in terms of loneliness, and just advice you would have for someone who's feeling lonely when they're moving to a new city?
I think loneliness is something that I'm still uncomfortable with the idea with, because like you said, I am moving, and I'm moving to a city where I literally know nobody. Yeah. So I'm already having that anxiety about like living in a city where I don't know anyone. But like you said, like that is normal. Everyone feels that way. Yeah. The advice that I would give that I had to do myself, that took me a long time to take, is put yourself out there. You have to. Growth is uncomfortable, and putting yourself out there is uncomfortable, but you just have to do it. Like push yourself out of your box. Go out, try to meet new people. Go, even if you don't have Bumble friends, like sit at a bar somewhere and just talk to the bartender, talk to the person next to you, go to a workout class. put yourself out there.
Put yourself out there.
It'll be worth it every time.
Yes.
Like, it'll feel so uncomfy at first, but like it really is worth it. Ends up being worth it in the end.
100%. Why do you feel like most people are uncomfortable with stepping out of that comfort zone? Do you feel like it goes back to our conversation earlier of just judgment and feeling judged when they're getting themselves out? Do you think a lot of people just get to a point of their lives where it's more comfortable for them to stay in any situation, if that's a job, a relationship that they're not necessarily happy with, versus like actually taking that first step to getting out of their comfort zone? What does that look like for you guys? Because obviously you have stepped out of your comfort zone, specifically within making friends. Like getting on Bumble Friends at the beginning is scary. Like making that profile, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? This is weird as hell, but I'm gonna do it. So why do you feel like a lot of people are uncomfortable stepping out of their comfort zones, and what does that look like specifically for you? We can start with you, Zinka, for that.
I think people are like just scared of it, honestly. Like, and it's a hard thing to do, and obviously it's like easier to stay in your comfort zone where like you know all your people and there's like a routine and stuff like that. And so when there's like a big change or something that disrupts that, like it kind of takes a second for it to not be like so jarring, you know. For me, I have always been someone who like thrives in my comfort zone, and I will be the first to admit that. But like every time I've done something uncomfortable, it has ended up being like one of the best things of my life. So like I went to school. I mean, it wasn't that far from home, but I could have stayed in Orlando and gotten like a full ride to go to the school there and like been around a lot
of ride, a little flex. So you're trying to add it in really quick, bitch, please.
But like been around a lot of people that I went to high school with, and I chose to. I mean, granted, I did still know a lot of people up at UF, but like I went there instead because I was like, I need to like get away from my parents for a bit. Love them, but like, I needed to leave. And then same thing with like PT school. I was like, well, this is not what I expected it to be. Like I thought I was going to get into some schools that I didn't get into, and I ended up just having to go to the one that I did get into. Met the most amazing people who I'm like still so close with to this day. Again, Michaela, shout out Michaela, my roommate. Met her at PT school. Coming here, same thing. It's always worth it, even if it's scary. So I try to remind myself of that. There are definitely some things, like smaller things, getting out of my comfort zone, like going to a workout class by myself, or like just sitting in a bar by myself that I haven't mastered yet. But we're working on it.
Oh, yeah. What about you, Maheen?
I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I honestly don't remember what life was like before COVID.
Just blacked out. Actually,
But, you know, we were in school before COVID. So, like, that was easy for us to make friends. And then COVID happens, and a lot of like the social interactions were lost for a lot of people for a long time. So like that's something that people are not used to anymore. And so I honestly feel like that plays a big part in it too. Next to also what Zinka was saying, that like the sociability of the world is just not where it used to be. Now we're also chronically online, and everybody's just like on their phones all the time. Like people just don't make the same efforts anymore.
So true.
Yeah.
We sound like such boomers. Like, these kids are all...
No, literally. These kids on their social media. And I'm like, gonna post this whole episode to freaking TikTok. At the end of it. But no, it's so true. COVID did play such a role. I know my social anxiety was so much worse after COVID versus like first going into it. So we do need to give ourselves like a little bit of grace with that too. I think a lot of people's like brains just like we were rewired after that intense period. So giving yourself some grace, but also like you mentioned, taking that step to getting out of it is going to be the most beneficial thing that you probably could do. I love that you mentioned, you know, spending time alone and, you know, taking yourself to that workout class by yourself. Friends are so important, but I always stress how important it is. And this is something that I struggle with, of like spending time alone. If that's a movie solo date, if you're like, okay, I'm not really ready to like work my way up to a dinner date by myself, but like a movie solo date where I'm surrounded by people, but I'm technically by myself is like a really good way to do it too. How important do you guys think it is to spend time alone outside of those friendships? And what does that actually look like for you in your life? Because I know we have conversations where like, I don't really like spending that much time alone. I need my alone time. I'm very much an ambivert. Like I can be go, go, go. And then I'm like, I don't want to talk to another person, but I'm not necessarily like treating myself. It's more of like, I'm going to have a rock day on the couch and binge Love Island and almost still distracting myself, not really spending time alone and really reflecting, if that makes sense. So Zinka, we can start with you. What has that looked like? And then also any advice you would have to stress the importance of spending time alone and getting to know yourself outside of those friendships so you can show up in those friendships as authentically as possible too.
Yeah, I'm kind of like in the same boat as you. Like, I usually, when I spend time alone, it's like I'm either doing something like folding my laundry, and that's just like my alone time, or like watching TV, binging a show.
Yeah.
I have been pretty bad, honestly, about like taking myself out. I mean, I'll go get my nails done. That's like usually alone time, because honestly, even when you go with a friend, half the time they separate you. So it's like
so true.
But yeah, so like I'm bad about being intentional with my alone time, I will say. Like, I want to be better about like taking myself out for a little treat, or like, you know, just sitting somewhere by myself and being comfortable with that.
Yeah.
That is something I'm still working up to. But I will say what has helped me spend time with myself, I guess, is like journaling. I was very, honestly, just from a stress perspective, like a lot less stressed out and like a lot more mindful of things when I was journaling.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be anything like crazy. I would literally take like maybe 15, 20 minutes and just write about like what's been going on in my life and just kind of reflect on that.
Yeah.
And that's like a good way of being intentional and like sitting with some of the feelings and things that you're experiencing, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
It's so funny to like look back on some of the things I wrote. I'm like, I was really worked up about this.
I was going through it. My girl was going through it.
Yeah. But that's something I recommend to people, like as a starting point. If you're like uncomfortable spending time alone, try like journaling and like putting your energy into something.
100%.
Yeah.
What about you?
I also don't like being alone. I don't care for alone time. Of course I need like decompression time. But I also love having that strong female friendship where we
Plug it.
can
Yes, looking at the camera.
where we can just sit together in silence, watch TV, just be in each other's presence and not have to like be on and just decompress together. Like, I love that. I mean, you don't always get that, but thankfully I live with Brie and, you know, we're super close. So we do that all the time. But my alone time also just like looks like me just rotting on the couch. But I'm also really bad about going out and doing things by myself. If I know that like I have a friend that could do this with me, and I want to go do it, but they're not able to go do it, I'm not going to go do it without them. Yeah. But that's something that I feel like I'm going to be a little bit better about in Seattle, hopefully, because I don't know anyone there and I want to get out. I want to meet people. I want to explore.
Yes.
So because I have no one, I have no choice but to
go
by
do
myself.
It.
Yeah. So that's going to be me pushing myself out of my comfort zone. But I'm kind of ready for that now.
Hell yeah.
I'm kind of ready to just get out there and
do your thing.
The growth is coming.
Genuinely. Yes. And it is so cool that you're moving to a new city, because you really can talk about this like in the framework of you're actually about to start doing this. So I'm just excited to hear from you guys, like other ways this woman that wrote in and other women can meet people in a city outside of Bumble Friends, which is the best way to do it. What are some other ways people can get involved, if that's like a new hobby, if that's mutual friends? We kind of talked about a lot, but just so this person can be like, okay, I can start with these few things. Zinka, we can start with you. What are some ways that people can like go out and about and actually meet friends outside of like the dating apps and the apps?
Yeah. Well, honestly, like the easiest way to do it is to just like do things that you enjoy. So like whether that's taking up a pottery class or an art class of some sort, or like going to yoga or Pilates or spin, whatever it is, like a hobby of yours that you enjoy, even if you have to do it by yourself at first, chances are there's someone else there that's like also by themselves, or like maybe there's a group of people who are like very welcoming or whatever. And then that's kind of the easiest way to meet people, because you already know, oh, we have these interests in common because we're all at this function or
100%.
all at this class, whatever.
Yeah.
Again,
dysfunction.
Like, again, like, not saying I'm the best at doing that, but yeah. And then another way is like, I know this person that wrote in hasn't really like clicked with her coworkers, but she can like stomach the thought of like hanging out with them after work or outside of work at least like once or twice, because you never know, like they might have some friends that she really does get along with or whatever. That's always a good way. It's like meeting people, like friends of friends.
Yes, 100%. What do you think, Maheen?
Along with everything Zinka said, for sure. But, you know, there's this new thing that I saw on social media. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I definitely follow them on Instagram because I want to do this when I get to Seattle. It's called Time Left, I think. And it's where you like sign up, and they have it in like, I don't know how many cities across the world, but you sign up and you go to dinner with like 6 strangers or 5 strangers or something. Yeah. So that looked really interesting to me. That's something kind of out of the box. But I guess also another thing that they could do is a little bit of a Reddit search, a little bit of a TikTok search of like different places that transplants go, because your best bet of making friends is with people that are new to the city.
So
too.
true.
Yeah. So like, where are there lots of transplants? Where are there going to be people that just moved here or are new here?
Yeah.
Because it's harder to make friends with people that are like born and raised somewhere, because they already have their
They have their like
set.
friend groups, their family, all that. I will say that's the beauty of the internet, though. Like, you could find a suggestion for just about any activity that you want to do in a new city.
ChatGPT be going crazy with it too. Like, actually, that's really good advice. I didn't even think about becoming friends with people who are also already in the city, because it is a lot tougher to meet friends with people that are already established. Like we talked about Atlanta, there's so many friend groups that have been here since high school, and I definitely had a lot of situations where I'm like, y'all are not trying to be friends with me, and that's cool, but like I can tell you're already set. Like now that I have my friend group, I'm always down to meet new people, but like actively going out and making new friends, I don't need to do, because I have like really great friends here already too. So last words of advice from you guys. You guys killed it. I'm so happy. You guys fucking killed that shit. Maheen, we'll start with you. Last words of advice for this person who's struggling making friends. What do you want to let her know?
Like I said earlier, growth is uncomfortable. You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. You have to make efforts. You have to do things that you did not think that you were going to do. Yeah. So that's my biggest piece of advice, is push yourself. It sucks, but you have to do it.
Yeah. Zinka?
Literally everything Maheen said, but also just like be yourself, and rest assured that like you're not the only one going through it. There's going to be other people out there who are in the same boat as you, and give yourself time to like be patient. You're not gonna, I don't know how long this person has been in New York now, but like, especially a big city like that where there's thousands of people, like you're not going to find your people immediately. It can take time. I would say like it took like at least 6 months for me to find like a friend group here, and then building that connection takes time too. So like, give yourself some grace, be patient, but also just like be yourself, and know that like your people are out there. It's just, it's going to take a little bit of time to find
100%. And do not settle. The first person you meet in your trivia group or your app and you're not really vibing with, don't feel like you need to like settle and cling on to that person. There are so many other people that are more compatible with you in terms of a friendship that are out there. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. So good.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. I'm so happy. This was such a fun episode. And as always, if you guys ever want advice from more amazing guests like Maheen and Zinka, head to my Google form, my Instagram or my TikTok, add unlicensed advice. We will literally answer anything you want. It can be about friendships, but seriously, if you're like, my dog is jumping on the fucking bed, like I need advice on how to train it, like I will get a dog trainer on this. I'm not even freaking kidding. We cover it all. As always, I love you guys, and I'll see you next week.